From KC born and bred ownership comes the most affordable and highest quality in Chiefs merchandise. For Chiefs fans, by Chiefs fans. Whether it's officially licensed items or unique custom conversation pieces, no matter the size, from grandbaby to grandparent, Noble Apparel has something for everyone. Best prices, best quality, Noble Apparel. Now with 5 convenient Kansas City locations. Off North Oak, Vivian, Holmes, Westport, and 68th Street. The ultimate fan experience awaits at Noble Apparel.
Josie running left, cuts it back right, gets a breakaway.
We'll be walking out here as a national champ. I expect nothing less.
There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Dobbs heaves it. They're bunched up in the end zone. It's tipped up. It's caught. It is caught. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Saturday night in Death Valley.
GASN Sports presents the Saturday Supremacy Podcast, celebrating the passion, traditions, and pageantry surrounding college football Saturdays, featuring weekly guests and hard-hitting analysis. And now, please welcome your hosts, Noah Groniger and Clint Schweitzer.
Well, as the sun slowly begins to fade here on the college football regular season and 2019, we are just getting started here on the Saturday Supremacy Podcast. Clint Schweitzer alongside Noah Groniger here, and we are putting a big ribbon on the college football regular season and looking forward to the playoffs. We have a huge show coming up for you here as we're going to be talking LSU and their improbable run to glory, 5 wins over top 10 teams, and they are heading to the college football playoff. We're going to be talking with our good friend Michael Clayton, former LSU great, just about how Ed Orgeron has been able to endure himself to not only the LSU fan base, but to the country, and how a nation has really got on board with Joe Burrow and the way this team plays. It's been well documented all season long about how important this has been for LSU and Ed Orgeron taking over and coming full circle, getting his team to the college football playoff. We had Tim Brando on our show 2 years ago talking about this hire. He said he predicted that this would be one of the great stories in college football and sports history, and here it's coming to fruition. Noah, is that the big story? The big takeaway is we head off into the sunset on 2019. LSU, this improbable run, they're on the precipice of immortality, and we've been following it all year, starting at SEC Media Days, man. We were there meeting with Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron.
It really has to be. And before I get into that, just talk about Tim Brando, Babe Ruth calling his shot as we talked to him several years ago about this, like you mentioned, and him saying this is going to culminate in something unbelievably special. And here we are. And it seems like it's on a collision course with absolutely that, something magical and special. We're kind of already there, but we got 2 more games to go, a Heisman Trophy to secure before we can get to that realm. And I can't wait for it. I look forward to LSU hopefully getting and hoisting that crystal ball and winning the national championship. And you can call this an SEC bias, as this is an SEC podcast, but this story has taken over college football, no matter whether you're Pac-12, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, or right here in the SEC with us on this podcast. It has just been a magical story, whether you're talking about Joe Burrow, Joe Brady, what Ed Orgeron has built LSU into becoming, and Joe Burrow. I mean, talk about him. I mean, he's going to be the Heisman Trophy winner. His dedication to this program, what it means to be an LSU Tiger down there in Baton Rouge, his dedication to this program, his leadership. They're not thinking about the next step or the national championship. All they're thinking about is Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Oklahoma. That's our next game, and we've got to beat them and take care of business to get to where we want to go to. And this story just has been magical as far as them going into Tuscaloosa, taking down Nick Saban and beating Alabama there. I mean, it really, the spotlight was on that for me during this college football season. It lived up to it, and they came out unblemished. They still are, and I just cannot wait to see where this thing goes.
Well, we know the accolades of Joe Burrow. Over 4,700 yards passing, 48 touchdowns, breaking Drew Lock's single-season touchdown mark in the SEC. But how about the other names? I mean, I think we're going to talk to Michael Clayton about this, about how LSU's defense stepped up in the SEC championship game, just completely dominating Georgia, a Georgia team that had not given up a rushing touchdown all season. But how about Clyde Edwards-Helaire? 1,200 yards rushing and 16 touchdowns. That, to me, perfectly summarizes this LSU offense, because not only do you have the fun and gun style that Joe Brady has brought to to Tiger Nation, but Edwards-Helaire has been just an absolute stalwart on the ground, and the defense. I mean, talk to us about that, because I don't think LSU is where they are without the defensive improvement. We saw them give up a lot of points to schools like Florida and even Vanderbilt earlier in the season, and then they come out and they just completely shut down Georgia, who had been struggling offensively, but that was a team that had been in the college football playoff discussion all season long. Talk to us about the LSU defense and the importance of other players aside from Joe Burrow and his Heisman season.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it there. I mean, early in the season, we had Michael Clayton on, and he was mentioning how this isn't living up to the LSU standards and how strong of a defense that we always have. And we went into, well, that's a little bit of that could be because of the explosive offense, what Joe Brady's bought, the quick scoring plays that they get. And we've seen this defense grow. And with the offense still remaining just as explosive, like the offense hasn't had to scale back so that the defense could get more rest. No, this offense is scoring quick. They're scoring a lot. And they're scoring in bunches, and this defense has taken the steps. We saw it against Texas A&M, and we saw it in the SEC championship game, which was a real question. Can they put back-to-back weeks together and against a Georgia team, the number 4 team in the country at the time? Can they do it? And they did, and we've seen it from Grant Delpit, from this great safety there, and we've seen it from Derek Stingley Jr., the freshman corner out there. We always talk about corners not being able to get their heads around and locate the football and make a play on it. That's exactly what he did. He got his head around. He made a play, great interception in that game. And they said, yeah, we've talked about this Georgia offense. It hasn't been the same. They've kind of been stifled here and there. But in that game, Jake Fromm was on. He was accurate with that football, and he was having a really good game. And Derek Stingley just made a great play that, I mean, they always talk about there's no defense for just an immaculate, perfect throw, and that's what Jake Fromm made, but Derek Stingley made an even better play. And I just couldn't believe what I'm seeing out there from a true freshman when you go to the NFL and you're not seeing NFL players make it. So you've seen the development and progress of Derek Stingley Jr., the rest of this defense, just how Grant Delpit plays back there and how he leads from the safety position. Usually hear about that from a linebacker, but he really leads back there, especially that secondary from the safety position. And that's someone Derek Stingley has leaned on throughout the course of the year.
Well, coming up here, we're going to be speaking with former LSU legendary wide receiver Michael Clayton, was a part of the 2003 national championship team, coached, of course, by Nick Saban. They also beat the Oklahoma Sooners to win that national title, and LSU will have to get by Jalen Hurts and Oklahoma again here to advance to the national championship game. But, I mean, when you think about this and you think about the story, and, I mean, to go back to Coach Ed Orgeron's hiring. He was the interim coach. In fact, we were there back in 2016 when he coached his first game against Missouri. People were not really happy about it. They thought, okay, let's ride the season out with him. And that's, we're going to have to go make a big splash hire. They want Jimbo Fisher. They want a big name in there. But giving this opportunity to Ed Orgeron, and for him to have seized this opportunity, knowing that he can't do it on his own, that he had to change things, the way LSU was used to playing, they have not had good quarterbacks there. They have not had prolific offenses. They've been just a pound it and play defense type program, and now they've totally flipped the switch, and that's on Orgeron. That shows his willingness to put aside whatever his personal thoughts on how to win are, and he's brought in Joe Brady. They've revamped everything, and now they're on the precipice of just complete immortality. This is a guy that's from Louisiana, went to high school and college in the state of Louisiana. Now he's back. I don't know of a more perfect situation that I've ever heard of in college football, and Tim Brando has called this from the beginning, and a guest that we've had on many times, and he's predicted this would happen, and now here we are. Big thanks to him for joining us all year. And coming up, we're going to be talking to our good friend Michael Clayton. But before we do that, we also are going to have to talk about in the SEC, of course, there are 3 new coaches. So we've got to get to that because obviously we're here in Missouri. We cover Missouri, pretty frequently. And Eli Drinkwitz is the new head coach at Missouri. We're going to be talking to Ashton Glaser, a former Missouri quarterback. And now he, come to find out, he was played quarterback under Eli Drinkwitz at Springdale High School down in Arkansas when Eli Drinkwitz was the offensive coordinator there. So we're going to get some really good insight on him. Of course, we know Sam Pittman has been hired by Arkansas. Lane Kiffin, everybody knows it, goes to Ole Miss. So if you wouldn't mind, I would just like you to go ahead and rank these 3 SEC hires from 1 to 3 and give us some insight on your thoughts on these 3 and which ones you think you can turn their prospective teams around the quickest and which ones you think may never even see a bowl game at their prospective school.
Well, we'll start at the bottom. And of course, I think everyone knows where this is going to head. And we're heading down to Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, the hiring of Sam Pittman. They had Brett Bielema. They kicked him out the door. Chad Morris didn't work. And now we've gone to Sam Pittman, the former offensive line coach for the Georgia Bulldogs. And this is just a very unspectacular hire. And it's just seemed like Arkansas just didn't have any choices, that they wanted to go out and make a splash, and they called people and they just weren't getting callbacks. They were getting sent straight to voicemail. And then the coaches that they were going after immediately signing extensions with their schools that they were at and just didn't leave me alone. I want no part of this in Arkansas. And Arkansas shouldn't be where they are, but this is reality. And that is where they are. They're down with the Vanderbilts. And it just doesn't seem like they have a choice. This is just spiraling out of control on them after getting rid of Bielema and then Chad Morris and Sam Pittman. If this doesn't work with Sam Pittman, then we're just talking about this program just completely in a hole, in an abyss, and just spiraling out of control to where there may not be a way out of it because you're not going to be able to woo the right coach there and get them into the program. And so you're just going to keep having to hire guys like Sam Pittman and hope that one hits and is just a miraculous out of the blue wonder. And that's what they're hoping here with Sam Pittman. But I just don't, this seems like a Joe Moorhead hire to me, although I don't think he's going to be Joe Moorhead and get the Arkansas to a bowl game anytime soon. And Arkansas seems quick on the trigger. They feel like they should be better, higher and better than where they are. And they're just too quick to make a move, and that I feel like in a couple years we're going to have this same conversation. Now, moving to the number 2 team out here for coaching hires, it looks like it's going to be Mizzou with Eli Drinkwitz. We liked his introductory press conference. We like that he's a offensive-minded genius is what we're hearing around college football and Gus Malzahn. And so that's kind of the new wave of college football. This could be a new wave for Missouri football, and we liked what he did at Appalachian State, but we have questions too, that it was 1 year. It was someone else's players. Can he recruit, especially moving to a Power 5 school here at Mizzou? Can he recruit consistently to build a top flight program? And there's just those questions. And while we like what we hear from around college football and him working with Gus Malzahn and Gus having nothing but glowing positive things to say, and we always talk about Mike Leach and Lincoln Riley, what they're doing with their offensive-minded just genius, a lot of people are saying that's what this guy has. Eli Drinkwitz has that same thing to him, that same mold, that same genius when it comes to offensive football. And he even mentioned that in his press conference and what he wants to bring to Mizzou, the brand of football and how it's quarterback driven. And so we just got to see it play out before we can really judge. And I know you really have to do that with everything, but the fact that he just doesn't have a lot of past experience in the 1 year at Appalachian State, it's just, this is a new place for him in the SEC with a Power 5 school. So he gets my number 2 spot. And number 1 is Lane Kiffin. We know about the drama. We know about what's gone wrong at Tennessee, at USC, even at Alabama's offensive coordinator, getting into shouting matches with Nick Saban and being banished to Florida Atlantic to prove himself again. And he did it. He went to Florida Atlantic and he had to show that he can have this program that he can raise up from where it was when he got there, and he can cut out the drama, the craziness that goes on, and just being kicked out and everyone saying, oh my God, that was a disaster. Why did we hire that guy? No, Florida Atlantic didn't want to lose him. And so Ole Miss got Matt Luke out of there. They've got Lane Kiffin in, and I think Lane's ready. I think he's ready to come back to the SEC. He's learned his lessons from Tennessee, from Alabama, from USC. He's figured it out at Florida Atlantic, and now it's time to come back to the SEC. I think his brand of football fits the SEC and what he wants to do, and his personality fits Oxford, fits Ole Miss, and we want to see Ole Miss get back to prominence in the SEC West and in the SEC as a whole and college football as a whole. So I think this is a home run hire for them.
Well, we're going to get into this a little more as we're going to talk about Eli Drinkwitz in detail a little later on with Ashton Glaser, former Missouri quarterback that actually was recruited by Gary Pinkel. And Eli Drinkwitz drove with Ashton to Mizzou for the visit, and he winds up going to Mizzou. So kind of a cool connection there. We're going to get all the info about the kind of style of offense that Drinkwitz runs, being kind of from the Gus Malzahn mold and that and much more. But before we do that, let's get back into some LSU talk and college football playoff with our good friend Michael Clayton. Michael, of course, as you hear it now, he's being introed to his new song, which is Run Tiger Run. It's the theme song for the LSU Tigers in the 2019 season. Great stuff, man, as we're bringing it on here. Michael, it is great to hear from you again, my friend. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
What's up, brother?
Oh, man, it's great to hear from you again. It's crazy. The last time we talked to you, we were just talking about LSU having this wonderful dream season. Now it's cemented. LSU wins the SEC, off to the college football playoffs. What kind of sense of pride are you now personally, my man?
Listen, I feel a lot of pride. I think that when I was in school and Coach Saban said make a 40-year decision, not a 4-year decision, it was our dream to become the best in the country. And we accomplished that. And then our secondary dreams was to leave a legacy. So the records that me and my teammates created and individual records that some of us have, that was at the height of us being the best in football. And to see our team this year, break our records that we left and, to capture the throne the way that they have, it is a great feeling to be an LSU Tiger, and extremely proud of not just the receivers, but the quarterback, the whole team as a whole, the defense, the coaching staff. Everything has been pleasing to me as a former player. Couldn't ask for any other better representation for what we have now at LSU.
Well, Michael, we've seen what this offense can do. We know what it is with Joe Burrow, Joe Brady at the helm calling the plays. But what about this defense? Last time we talked, we said they weren't living up to the LSU mold, the standard. We talked about some of the reasons why that is, the big plays, the explosive offense. But talk about the strides, especially the last 2 weeks against Texas A&M and Georgia in the SEC championship game, the strides that this team has made, especially through freshmen like Derek Stingley Jr., with him turning his head around in that Georgia game, making that incredible interception.
Yeah, first, the standard at LSU for defense has always been hard mouth, wrap up, tackle. And this team, they have a lot of great athletes, and the way that they operate is just like the LSU of old. But it seemed to me that our weakest link was tackling. We were getting to the positions, we were in the right spot, but we weren't bringing that dominant effect, wrapping up and tackling. And it has been our weakest link, but our defense has come around. I think that they recognize their inefficiencies. They could get better, and that's just what they did these past 2 weeks, especially in the SEC championship. I said if we do not tackle, anything could happen in the SEC championship game. We could lose to Georgia if we didn't tackle. We can lose in the first round of the playoffs if we don't tackle, and we can lose a national championship if we don't tackle. If we correct that, then I don't see anybody stopping us. And it seems to me that Coach Miranda has fixed that problem. It looks like the guys are now, they're not, I call it showboating. They throw the shoulder in there and they want to KO people, and that just doesn't happen once you get to this level. Guys are running through tackles. So I always saw that was the difference maker of us, being that top. It seems like we solidified those inefficiencies, and Coach Miranda has his guys rolling.
Just talk to us a little bit about Coach Ed Orgeron. We were able to spend some time with him at SEC Media Days, and I'm just really impressed with the vision he had for this program. A lot of people did not want him hired when he was the interim coach after he was taking over for Les Miles. Here he is from really, he's such a rags to riches, back to rags, now to riches story. Some could have predicted that Ed would have got to this point. He was able to turn the offense over to Joe Brady as far as him being the passing game coordinator. But just talk about him and how he's endeared himself to the LSU faithful. I mean, he's a Louisiana guy. He's just, really endeared himself to the people of Louisiana, and people are buying in. I mean, how cool is this, and what are your thoughts on Ed Orgeron as a whole?
I would say this, a lot of people didn't think Coach O was the man for the job because of what happened before Coach O. A lot of people wanted Jimbo Fisher at the time. They remember that high-powered offense, and it was just something that the LSU offense wasn't known for, and they wanted that quarterback that Jimbo Fisher could bring in. They wanted that offense like they saw of old. My first experience with Coach O was when LSU played in the, I think it's the Camping World Bowl. They played Notre Dame a few years ago. And I called up to the staff and I said, man, listen, I'm going to be at the game. I want to come in. I want to watch the game. And they bring me Coach Ed Orgeron's sideline pass to get me in the game. And when I walk in, I'm like, is this? And they're like, no, he gave it to us to come get you. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've never met Coach O. When I'm walking on the sideline, Coach O sees me out the corner of his eye. He comes up to me and speaks to me on the sideline. He says, I'm glad you're here. Wow. And I didn't know what that meant, and it just made me feel so special. But Coach O has been an LSU fan for so long. He's coached against LSU. He's from Louisiana. He remembers the greats, the old LSU greats. He remembers what we look like, and it was just so impressive. For my first time meeting Coach O, I walked into the locker room. He hands me, and that was just at Notre Dame. Then the following year, Notre Dame. Then the following year, I think we played against Louisville. I can't remember all of these games. I'm getting old. I'm showing my age, getting old. But then I go I'm with him against Louisville, and when we beat Louisville, he puts the trophy in my hands, and he said, "This is what it's all about." I knew then we had a coach that will represent LSU not just for the players that he coached, but for the players who have been there and done that. And that's what it means so much to me. And I know every single former player loves Coach O to pieces, man. He has opened up the door, just like Les Miles did. Les Miles opened up the door, but Coach O has given us a platform to have a relationship with these players, to speak to them, to talk to them about the LSU way, to educate these guys on life after football. He's just done a tremendous job of implementing former players into the program where we can have a big impact on the growth of our program. And every time I call Coach O, I get a response. He answers. So that's all you can ask for as a former player, man. And it makes me feel special that he's a Louisiana guy. He's a Louisiana guy. Everybody from Louisiana takes great pride in our state. Takes great pride in a person that has gotten it the way that Coach O has gotten it, and to be at the top of the hill right now is special for everybody who represents the big LSU.
Well, Michael, moving ahead to this Oklahoma game, I know you got to be confident. You guys should be. The body of work you've put out there, the type of offense you have, the soon-to-be Heisman Trophy winner in Joe Burrow. But if you could only pick one, what would be your biggest worry heading into this Oklahoma game? Is it Jalen Hurts' command of the offense and his ability to use his legs? Is it CeeDee Lamb's speed? Or is it the fact that a great offensive mind like Lincoln Riley has all this extra time to prepare and game plan for you guys?
Listen, after the way that we played against Georgia, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have no worries. And if I had to come up with a worry, my only worry is can the thorough Burrow continue this legacy of greatness? If I had any concern or worry, it's like, is it possible for you to play flawlessly for a full season. That would be my only worry if I had to make up one. But the way that these guys are playing together as a team, like I'm doing a little inside research on how they feel about each other as a family, honestly, Clint, I don't have a worry in terms of what is going on or what will go on between the lines. If there were any worry, I would say, can we continue to play great? Is it possible to continue to play the way that we played all season? And with Coach O at the helm, I don't even have a worry with that. He's going to have his guys ready to go. It's one game at a time with him. You're not looking ahead. You're focusing on the task at hand, and you're going in with confidence. Coach O, I call him the big bad bully, all right? He tells you how he feels. His players mimic his personality. They embody his confidence, and it is enjoyable to watch as a former player who once established that type of DNA, that type of way of football is great to watch.
Well, Michael, if we can get that inside info on how this team has come together as a family, what have you found out?
Well, they had to get to know one another. You know, they had to buy in totally to Joe Burrow. They had to buy in to Joe Brady. They had to buy in to this defense who had some guys in and out and buy into themselves. You know, the greatest thing is, like, you know, when you're at LSU, it is always in the first thought that, hey, we're going to the National Football League. And a lot of times that can be your worst enemy when you got guys who are looking to the National Football League, looking at how they're going to get paid and worrying about if they're going to be injured or not. This team has bought into the day-to-day. They're paying the price. They don't care what it costs. They want to win a national championship. And when everybody is on that page, listen, when you go about it the right way, you're going to be a hard team to beat. And on the inside track, that's what those guys have done. Nobody is worried about going to the NFL, taking plays off. Everybody is worried about being the best in the country, bringing that trophy home to Louisiana, and that's what I enjoy looking at. I even made a theme song. I've created a theme song. Okay,
here we go.
About my LSU Tigers. I'm going to create it. It's a challenge. I can't wait for it to hit. I'm making a video. I'm just excited about my guys representing Louisiana in the best way possible and can't wait to see it all come into fruition.
Well, the only real question about that is, I mean, we're good friends with Dwayne Bowe. Of course, he played here in Kansas City. You guys are going to have to collaborate on this song, I think. I mean,
he's a rapper, the big Money Bowe. Listen, I sent him the song 2 weeks ago. He hadn't got back with me with the final edit, but it's already in Big Bowe's, in Money Bowe's hands.
Yes.
Love it.
I say, man, what better way to pay tribute to the wide receivers who are playing now, guys who are breaking my records, breaking Dwayne Bowe's records on the way to a national championship. It all works out in perfect fashion. In the song, I say we're number one, and I made this song when we weren't number one. We were number two, and now that we're number one, it makes perfect sense to release it to the nation, baby. I can't wait.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. And I tell you what, of course, you were a part of the 2003 team that won a national championship, one of the great receivers in the LSU history. Thinking about, of course, back then there was no college football playoff. The Tigers are going to have to win 2 games. You had to beat the same team, though, that the LSU will have to beat in the playoff in Oklahoma. Just take us back to 2003 and that great team. Of course, guys like Jamarcus Russell. You had such a, just a balanced team, offense and defense. Take us back to that. You guys had to beat Oklahoma, the Bob Stoops Oklahoma team that had been number one for a lot of the season. And now, Here we go, because things always work this way. We're back to that. LSU's got to beat Oklahoma again. Take us back to 2003. You guys beat Oklahoma, and now they're going to have to do it again, Michael.
Yeah, they had Deion Strait. They had as the best defensive back in the country. They had Tommy Harrison, the best defensive lineman in the country. They had Teddy Lehman, the best linebacker in the country, and they had Jason White, who I think won the Heisman, the best quarterback in the country. So they had the number ones all over. The only thing that they didn't have was playing in New Orleans in front of a hometown crowd, and that trumped everything for us. Playing in New Orleans in the Superdome in front of our own hometown, we shut it down. I remember We met up with the Oklahoma players on Bourbon Street one of our nights that we were out walking about, and things got a little frisky. All right, nobody touched one another, but I will say that we met in the middle of the street, and about 10 minutes later, it ended up with the Oklahoma players with their backs to the wall, and the LSU players looking them in the eye like it's go time, and they were on the sideline. So this is what I know. I know that those guys, they fear nothing. We're playing against a great competitor in Oklahoma. I shed tears when Jalen Hurts made the comeback victory, or comeback when he got his chance to get back in the game and won the game for Alabama. It is the comeback story of college football, if you ask me. I so adore that kid and how he handled himself, a consummate pro. After playing under Coach Saban, it's not surprising to me how Jalen Hurts has handled himself. And listen, I wish the best for him, and I know that he's going to do well on the next level. And I hope the football world isn't shining upon him, because let me tell you this, that is a football story to make a movie about in Jalen Hurts. But I just know that our players, they fear nothing. They're not worried about anything, and they're looking to fly around. So I'm looking for some high-powered guys. Hat music. I call it hat music. All right, when you hit somebody in the hole, when you hit somebody hard, that's called hat music. And I'm looking forward to that on the 28th.
Well, Michael, you guys are just helping Jalen Hurts get a head start on the draft process and the next step into the NFL. You guys are just helping him get a head start. That's nice of you guys.
Well, listen, I tell you this. He won't be looking ahead either. He's a guy who was trained by one of the best, and Coach Saban. There's no secret why he's been able to have success at the next level. The thing that I admire most is that he learned and bettered himself. He learned under Tua Tagovailoa. He learned how to throw the ball. He added that to his game, and now he's put himself in a position to possibly win the Heisman. I don't think he's gonna win it, but to be mentioned amongst the top four and to go about it the way that Jalen Hurts has gone about it, nothing but total respect for that young man and his career and the things that he's done for college football.
Well, Michael, I'll tell you what, we're going to be cheering for you. We were able to spend some time, like I said, with Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron at SEC Media Days, and I've never been more just on board with the team. And obviously, we're here in Missouri. We cover the Missouri Tigers quite a bit. Just hired a new coach here, but we're going to really be cheering for these LSU Tigers going forward, man. And hopefully the next time we talk, it's going to be talking about a national championship for LSU. And I tell you what, guys, you can catch Michael. He is the pre- and post-game show host for the Tampa Bay Bucks on 95.3 WDAE. Michael, good luck to the going the rest of the way going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're kind of a sneaky team. They're sneaking up on people now, man.
Yeah, they're sneaking up on people. I think Bruce Arians has done a tremendous job ridding our culture of that losing culture and bringing in a championship culture. Coach Arians is no different than Coach O. The moment that he walks onto the building, his personality, the way that he embodies himself is contagious. And I think that the Bucs, it took them a while to get rolling. We now see our defense rolling, and Jameis is playing good football now. He's still turning the ball over a little bit too much, but he's playing good football from the quarterback position. And I see great things coming from the Bucs. So we got our fingers crossed with our Bucs too, man. But it's always go Tigers and go Bucs with me.
Hey, you bet. You do a great job, and I hope everyone will check out in the Tampa area. Check out you on the pre- and post-game show there on 95.3 WDAE. Michael, good luck, man. Go Tigers. We'll be talking soon. Let's get that national championship, my friend.
Will do. Thanks for the plug. And I'm going to make sure you got that Run, Tiger, Run song. I'm going to make sure maybe you can give me some love on that song.
Absolutely.
We just had Money-Bo on this show not 3 weeks ago, man. So we got to get this song. We got to get this song, and when LSU wins the championship, we got to play that as our intro, man. So
absolutely. I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send it to you right now. Money-Bo ain't on it. He hasn't done his job now. You got to get on it, Money-Bo. Right.
We'll get on it for you.
Yeah, get on him for me. All right, guys. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Well, there you hear it from Michael Clayton, and I'll tell you, it was just great to hear him talk about Ed Orgeron and how he's endeared himself to not only the fan base of LSU, not only the state of Louisiana, but the former players that laid the groundwork. Michael Clayton, a part of the 2003 National Championship team that was able to bring glory down to Tigerland, and now You heard the story about Ed Orgeron giving someone his media badge giving him his badge so that Michael Clayton could get into the game. That's the kind of stuff that just, blows me away. I love people and coaches that understand the players that came before, that make those connections. And this is just another notch in the feather in the cap for Ed Orgeron, as far as I'm concerned, endearing himself to players like Michael Clayton, who is a legend at LSU.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what college football kind of means to me, just from the outside looking in here, and especially at the LSU program, and what Michael Clayton, he didn't even think Ed Orgeron knew who he was, and Ed Orgeron just looks over and he immediately recognizes that, hey, that's Michael Clayton. Like, the bond that they have, the alumni, the former players coming back and being welcomed into the program, and come to the sideline, be a part of the game and the team and the athletics and the university, and just welcoming them in with open arms. That's what it means to me. And just going back to the interview and how Michael Clayton, how confident he is. He's not worried in this Oklahoma game, nor really should he be. Oklahoma's offense has been stifled here as of late, and they're flying high. They have the eventual, soon-to-be Heisman Trophy winner, Joe Brady, calling that offense, really building Joe Burrow into what he is. And, of course, Joe Burrow has a lot to do with that, his work ethic, his determination, just how much he loves and bleeds purple and yellow in that LSU Tigers program, and being a leader on that team. And he should be confident, and he should come out with this song, Run, Tiger, Run. And we love hearing it. And we love just the enthusiasm that Michael Clayton has for the LSU Tigers.
Well, let's talk some more about the new head football coach at the University of Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, who had a tremendous opening press conference, at least in my estimation, just so long as he knows that it's not the Sun Belt, it is the SEC East. Granted, he did say quickly, caught himself and said, I'm sorry, SEC East, because, you're probably not going to sit in there at your introductory press conference and talk about smacking around Ed Orgeron, Nick Saban, and Gus Malzahn. I digress. It was a great press conference. I think he really endeared himself, really comes across as a family guy, but somebody that really wants to win at all costs. So let's go ahead and bring on our guest, former Mizzou quarterback Ashton Glaser, played under Eli Drinkwitz at Springdale, Arkansas, at Springdale High School. Welcome to the show, Ashton. How are you, my friend?
No problem. Doing well. And how are you?
Oh, man, it's great to hear from you. Hope everything's going well. I know we got a tight schedule here. Very much apologize for having to push back just a few minutes, but before any of this happens, Ashton, what's funny is when all this goes down and Missouri's searching for a coach and all this happens, I believe the very first time I saw Eli Drinkwitz's name brought up was by you. Did you know something that the rest of us didn't, or were you just kind of throwing it out there, man? That was good happenstance.
Honestly, I had no idea. It caught me by surprise probably as much as anybody else, but I'm not shocked. I'll say that much. I just thought that he would be a great candidate for us and for our program and what we're trying to build and what we want, as a program. And I just felt like he would fill that gap perfectly. And so I threw out that suggestion. And funny enough, a couple of days later, he is Mizzou's new head coach.
There's a lot of excitement about it. And if I read things properly, I believe you were actually brought up in the press conference. Did you catch that?
I didn't hear the press conference. I've heard from a couple people that I think they were talking about me. My name might not specifically have been brought up, but I was that 2009 recruit they were referring to. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, at that point, Eli Drinkwitz was the offensive coordinator there at Springdale, where you came out, a top 25 player out of the state of Arkansas back in, I think, 2009. And just so, obviously, I'm sure you're getting inundated. We're probably a couple days late to be contacting you here. You've been inundated by people saying, the obvious questions are, what was your kind of relationship like with Coach Drinkwitz? Obviously, he was the offensive coordinator there during your time, so you spent a lot of time with him as the quarterback at Springdale. Just talk to Missouri fans about kind of what they're getting out of him, both schematically as an offense and as a person. And I think that we saw that in the press conference. A lot of people are really excited just about him and how he kind of won the press conference. But just tell us more about Coach Drinkwitz.
Yeah, so his demeanor and his way of speaking and the way he communicates with everybody, he didn't put on a show. It wasn't an act. That's truly the type of person that he is. He is very, very intelligent. You know, I've been really reflecting back on just some of our relationship and how it got started, and it's kind of funny. Looking back on it, 10 years later, full circle, he's now the head coach for the school he ended up helping me get recruited to in the first place. But the relationship was I was a 16, 17-year-old boy who was still learning life. And he was really that first big person, aside from my family, who made a huge impact just on my life. And I always kind of thought at that age that, his focus is only football. And at that time, when you're that age, you really think that's really all that it is. But then you have stuff like this where you really reflect on that relationship. And I start to realize a lot of the stuff that my life has evolved into today is because of some of the relationships that him and I had. The family side of things. He's always been a huge family guy. What's funny is when I was that 16, 17-year-old kid, I had no idea he was 24 and 25 years old the years that we knew each other.
Yeah.
I thought that guy was 40 years old. And the reason for that wasn't because he looks that age, but it was because he didn't act like a 24 or 25-year-old. And I can assure you, even the 24, 25-year-old I wasn't acting as mature as he was. And I venture to guess most of us could probably think the same thing. But he just held himself to a different standard. And he always led by example. I just look back and, as a high school player, not knowing anything about high school, because it was my first time in high school, right? When you're in high school, it's like everything's new to you. And your expectations are, this is what it's like everywhere. Well, I had no idea that this guy was going over and beyond the call of duty by making me get up. I felt like he was making me at the time get up and meet him at the indoor facility at 6 a.m. 4 days a week for us to do one-on-one training and developing me as a player, developing me as a person through film sessions and all the things that we did. I had no idea that was a rarity. You kind of just expect, that's just how it is with most coaches.
Yeah.
As I've grown to realize at this point in my life, that is a rarity. You don't have many coaches that are willing to sacrifice their time for a 60-year-old kid who knows he didn't even know that I was anything at the time when we first started doing this one-on-one session. And who knows, I may have not had the success I had and got the offers I had we not had some of those 6 a.m. sessions.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. And I think that just goes to show that this guy he's not just your typical coach. Like, he's willing to put in whatever time and whatever effort it takes to have success. And I just remember that drive. I saw one of his press conferences saying, well, what makes you different? Why this program? His drive for success and winning. And, I've always been super competitive, and him and I think, got along so well because we just hated to lose. And so we built this bond and this relationship because we didn't want to lose. And none of that has changed with him. We came from a high school where we averaged 43 points a game.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points. So we didn't win as many games as we wanted to, but offensively, we won games.
Right.
Put it that way.
Well, he talked in the press conference about how his offense is quarterback-driven. That's the quote he used. Obviously, you played quarterback in his system. He's obviously a disciple of Gus Malzahn. His offenses did nothing but get better when he coordinated Boise State, when he coordinated North Carolina State, now at Appalachian State. Just talk about the importance of the quarterback in his system and kind of how you were used and how you would expect him to use future quarterbacks at Missouri.
Yeah, so I think that kind of goes back to what I was talking about a second ago with the time and effort he put into me. He put in a ton of time and effort with our offense in general, but with me as the quarterback, as the leader, he wanted to make sure that I fully understood the processes and the reasonings behind it. So there's a huge difference in knowing the game, knowing the sports from a rules and regulation standpoint. There's a ton of people, there's a ton of head coaches out there that probably know the game from that perspective, rather than the few very successful head coaches, the Nick Sabans, who know what it takes to really show the players why you're doing what you're doing, putting it in, especially from a quarterback's perspective when you're leading a team. I've been on teams or been in positions or know of coaches where players are kind of just doing the motions because the coach is telling them to do it, and you don't necessarily understand the rhymes and reasons behind it. And so if you don't understand the offense front to back, it's then hard to understand why you're doing what you're doing, and then you have to then think about the other side of the ball, which makes things even more complicated. But for his ability to be able to coach a player to where it's easier in a very complicated system, that's really hard to do. And I think that's why he spends so much time and wants to have his input and say as the offensive coordinator side, because he's either going to have success doing it himself or they're going to fail and it's going to be on him. And he understands that he's willing to accept that because he's won all the battles he's been in. You can tell by his resume.
Well, Ashton, you played, of course, at Missouri from 2009 to 2012 before transferring to Missouri State. I mean, you backed up Blaine Gabbert. You backed up James Franklin. Actually, you probably would have wound up starting in 2012 had you stayed because of James Franklin's injury and Corbin Bergstresser comes in. But the point I'm making is, you left the program and went to Missouri State where you were able to play and finish your college career. But you've always kept Missouri close, seemingly very close to you, and you always have good commentary about the program. And now that Coach Drinkwitz is in there, and do you feel like that you're going to be even more close to the program and really just kind of harken back to those days where you played there and made an impact on the program? And even though you left it, now that you can definitely come back and have this connection with the coach and the people that around it, I mean that's got to be a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean absolutely. I think. Obviously, my heartstrings have been tied down to Missouri football just in general.
Yeah.
Being an Arkansas kid, but having something like this happen, it's obviously inevitably going to pull me even closer to it. It makes me even more excited about it. I can't tell you some of the people, some of my old friends and players that I grew up with in high school who ended up going to Arkansas. How many of them reached out to me, and how many of them have talked in social media saying, "Man, it's going to be hard to root for Mizzou, but it's going to be even harder not to root for Coach Drinkwitz."
Yeah.
Because of the relationships that he built and the success he had, he's just a great players coach. But he was just hard enough on you to where you didn't want to upset him. You did not want to let him down. But he wasn't that type of person who was ever going to, put you down. He didn't really put you down. He motivated you in a way to where you didn't want to let him down more so than him putting you down for not having the success, if that makes any sense.
I love everything that I've heard, man. That means so much, and I love the idea. Because, I mean, now, your life has changed. You have kids now. You're married. And it's funny because I'm sure when you talk about this, it's like, it harkens you back. It's like, man, this guy was, you're the age that you are now back when he was your offensive coordinator. And now here you are kind of following in those footsteps. And, a lot of people, Ashton, kind of had a disconnect from the program the last few years. And that's not all on Barry Odom. I've talked to TJ Moe a lot of times about attendance and issues and what was happening. And it's no one person's fault. But do you feel like at the very least that this coach, although it's a lot to put on just a head coach, because like he said in the press conference, it's on all of us, but do you feel like that a guy like Coach Drinkwitz can at least go pretty far as to uniting this fan base and kind of getting things back into a positive mode where it really belongs, where it was whenever you played there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's exciting because he's a younger, innovative coach, somebody who is, when he talks about this being a huge opportunity for him, well, it is. I mean, this would be a big opportunity for anybody, but knowing his personality and his demeanor, he's not going to let anybody down. And he'll do whatever it takes, and it's not going to be, it's not going to be something where it's just going to, if there's not success, it's not going to just fall on him, but he'll take it that way. Because that's just his personality. He doesn't want to lose, and he'll put the weight on his shoulders. And he's very good at not pointing fingers. I mean, he'll take the blame of any sort of issues, but I think it's just exciting to have something different. And from my experience with Mizzou and the coaching and some of the things, it's just something that we've never really done before as a program, at least for a long, long time. And so I think it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. He's super smart, intelligent guy, and he's an extremely hard worker. I just can't say enough good stuff about him.
Well, Ashton, I'll tell you what, before we let you go, man, you got to kind of tell our listeners where you're. I know you're still in Springfield, and kind of tell our listeners what you've been up to, what's going on, where they can find you if they want to get a hold of you. And I don't know, Coach Drinkwitz just signed a deal for $4 million a year. I don't know if he needs any kind of wealth management going on. I mean, he's got some money now, so I don't know. It sounds like a good client right there. So tell us how we can get a hold of you and what you're doing these days.
Yeah, so I live in Springfield, Missouri now. I stayed here after finishing up my last couple of seasons at Missouri State. People ask me, you kind of reverted back to what life would have been like my last season at Mizzou, or my last couple of seasons at Mizzou had I stayed, with the opportunity of playing. So I've had several people ask me, like, hey, would you go back and change it? I'd love to see what would have happened, but at the same time, I wouldn't change anything. I met my now wife, a month after I moved here to Springfield.
Wow.
We have two beautiful children. Collins, who turns 2 at the end of this month, and then Crew, who just turned 3 months old. And I'm the director of sales director here at Mutual Omaha here in town. So I am now developing, training, recruiting all of the new advisors for our office. And so our district is all of Kansas, which I hate to say that, but that's part of it. We've got all of Arkansas and then all of southern Missouri. So that's our district office called the Greater Ozarks. And so I spend the majority of my time developing my team and managing our team, but I still have some of my own personal production with a select few clients. Drinkwitz would most definitely fall in that realm.
Yeah.
I'm not actively seeking. Typically, things are now falling into my laps, and I won't turn it away. I obviously got into this industry to help as much as I possibly can and change the lives of families and individuals. Now more so, I try to focus on changing the lives of my advisors so they can make an even bigger impact than I could do on my own. So love it. Yep. We'll probably stay in Springfield. Don't have any intentions of leaving. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, add me on Facebook, add me on Instagram. More than welcome to reach out to me. And if you have any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Oh, that is awesome. Ashton, I know. Thank you so much for coming on with us and sharing this insight. It's not a lot of people have this kind of insight, and it's really important, I think, as people are getting really pumped about this. Man, have a great day. Appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon, my man.
Sounds good, brother. I appreciate it. You guys have a great rest of the day.
You bet, Ashton. Thanks a lot. Well, you got some really keen insight there from Ashton Glaser, talking about Coach Drinkwitz, about how he would make him come up to the school at 6 a.m., a 16-year-old kid, just learning an offense, trying to find his way as a high school quarterback, and he winds up being one of the top recruits in the state of Arkansas. And because of Coach Drinkwitz, he believes that he got to the University of Missouri. Drinkwitz took him there and met Gary Pinkel as a high school offensive coordinator, and now just 10 years later or whatever it is, he's now the head coach of the University of Missouri. And you love to hear stuff like that, moving up the coaching ranks, and you see it, you can see the pedigree, and now he's at Missouri, and you just can't help but hope for good things for Coach Drinkwitz. And man, that was some really good insight from Ashton Glaser there.
Yeah, it really was. And we talk about it. We've talked about it numerous times on this podcast alone, but we've talked about it all season. Just the offensive-minded genius of a Lincoln Riley, a Mike Leach, and of course Gus Malzahn, who he's worked with, and how Gus has glowing things to say about him. And that's all that Mizzou fans can latch onto right now. What he did at Appalachian State, tangible things, that great offense that he led there, what Gus Malzahn has to say about him, and kind of where college football and football in general is at right now, and how it's an offensive game and a spread, wide open game for the offense, and that everyone around college football seems to think Eli Drinkwitz is the next great offensive mind that you will see at a Power 5 school, and that happens to be Mizzou, and we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, we really are, Noah. And as we kind of start putting a ribbon here on the 2019 college football season, we've talked a lot about the playoffs. We know who's going to be there. We know those programs, and a team like Clemson, that's been the quietest 13-0 team that I can ever remember. And they're going to take on Ohio State. And we know kind of what's at stake here for the programs that are trying to vie for a national championship. But as we kind of put a bow on things and we look back to the 2019 college football season, of course, 2018, we were out on the road. We went to a different SEC football game each week, filming our documentary, Saturday Supremacy. And now this season, covered a lot of Mizzou, did a lot of things, got to see Mizzou really underperform, and that's why there's a new coach in there. But let's take a look at this regular season. And we had Tim Brando on a couple weeks ago. He talked about how college football was becoming a colossal bore because of the playoff format, because of the fact that so many teams are out of it by midway through the season. As you look back on it, we know the great programs, we know the great teams, but how do you look back at the season and just kind of as a whole?
As a whole, I think, it always starts, especially in the SEC, with Alabama. And of course, everyone just penciling them in, maybe even using pen and having to scratch out now, Alabama into the college football playoff. And for me, the spotlight was on LSU, Alabama. What's going to happen in that game? It's in Tuscaloosa. Everyone expects, Alabama's just going to win because that's what they do under Nick Saban. Ed Orgeron just isn't ready for it. LSU, with their great season that they're having, they're just not going to be able to close the deal in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, and they did. Joe Burrow was amazing. That's a Heisman moment when we look back at it now, when we go to the Heisman Trophy presentation and they're showing the highlights and of the season for Joe Burrow. That's going to be it. Him at Tuscaloosa making those throws against a Nick Saban defense. And just the magical run they're on, the fact that Tim Brando called it several years ago. It's just all been amazing to watch. And we can talk about the Clemsons, but how they haven't played anyone. And of course, Tim Brando said that early in the season with us, how Alabama didn't have anyone but scheduled. But when you're playing in the SEC, sooner or later, no matter whether you want to or not, you're trying to avoid it in the non-conference, you're going to have to play somebody. And they did in LSU. And they did in Auburn, and those are their two losses. Whereas Clemson, they never did have to play anyone, and they went unscathed, as they should. And that's why they're the number 3 team in the college football playoff. And they're kind of hitting their stride, though. Offensively, they just look unstoppable. But it's going to be interesting to see them against a real defense in Ohio State. And Ohio State has come out of nowhere, really. Not out of nowhere, but Justin Fields, we didn't know what to expect out of him, and Ryan Day taking over for Urban Meyer, and just how this kind of relationship between him and Justin Fields was going to work. Coming over from Georgia, Justin Fields transfers to Ohio State, and what he's been able to do, but now with this knee injury, the brace, I just don't think he's going to be as athletic and as explosive and as versatile as he needs to be in the college football playoff to beat Clemson. So it's going to be LSU, Clemson. And man, the story all year has been LSU, so I'm just looking forward to them holding up that crystal ball and being the national champions.
Well, we're going to have a lot more coverage for you as the bowl games start to unfold. Bowl season is upon us, and we're going to be breaking down some of these games. And, of course, as we edge closer to the college football playoff. So we are not done here on the Saturday Supremacy podcast. We are pushing through to the end of the college football season. The regular season's behind us. It is all postseason from here on. You got coaching rumors, coaching hires. It's all going on. College football is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. Thanks so much to our guests, Michael Clayton. What a great song, Run Tiger Run. We're all on board. And Ashton Glaser for talking about his former offensive coordinator and now head football coach at the University of Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz. It's always a pleasure to have you join us here. Please subscribe using Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or Google Play. Any way you choose to take in the show, we always appreciate a star rating and a review. You can go to our website, gasnsports.com, where all of our shows and all of our articles are linked and archived as well. So thanks so much for joining us here. We are off and running. The Saturday Supremacy podcast just getting started here this college football season.